President Obama is the least transparent president in the history of this country. I have a deal for the president, a deal that I don't believe he can refuse, and I hope he doesn't. His college records and applications, and if he gives his passport applications and records, I will give to a charity of his choice a check immediately for $5 million.
Donald Trump delivered another attack aimed at Barack Obama's education. He mocked the degrees, questioned the achievements, and spoke with the same confidence that had fueled years of public doubt around Obama's background. To Trump's supporters, it sounded like another winning moment. At first, people barely understood why the documents mattered. They expected another political fight, another loud exchange where both sides shouted until the audience picked a winner. The papers were presented as transcripts from Obama's early legal career, records tied to a federal appellate argument from years before he ever became president. The story on screen described a younger Obama standing before judges and arguing a case with precision, calmness, and complete command of the law.
No one is happier, no one is prouder to put this certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac?
It was not the image Trump had spent years trying to create. There was no confusion in the transcript, just page after page of controlled reasoning delivered in a serious courtroom where respect is earned slowly and carefully. That detail changed everything. Because a courtroom is not a rally, judges do not applaud slogans. They do not hand out respect because a crowd is cheering. Every sentence matters in those rooms, and according to the story being presented, one judge reportedly paused during the hearing to recognize the strength of Obama's argument directly on the record. Trump's insults suddenly felt smaller against something so calm and factual. A document does not shout. It does not interrupt people or call anyone names. It simply exists, steady and difficult to dismiss. That was what made the moment so uncomfortable for Trump's supporters.
Donald Trump at a rally just started making up stories of withholding aid from Republican areas and siphoning off aid to give to undocumented immigrants. Just made the stuff up. Everybody knew it wasn't true. Trump's behavior, the bullying and the putting people down, is a sign of strength.
The response was not emotional. It was evidence. At first, some people tried to laugh the story away. They expected another quick political controversy that would disappear by the next news cycle, but the longer the segment continued, the harder it became to ignore the contrast forming in front of the audience. Trump had used volume, confidence, and mockery to question Obama's intelligence. The answer came back through a written record showing discipline, preparation, and respect earned inside one of the most serious environments in public life. Some audience members stopped smiling completely. Others looked down at the transcript being shown on screen as if realizing the punchline had turned in the opposite direction. The applause that followed later did not feel like celebration after an insult. It felt more like recognition, not because Obama had humiliated Trump with a clever comeback, but because the response seemed bigger than politics itself. And the most powerful part was that Obama never needed to appear on camera. He did not need to defend himself line by line. He did not need to argue with Trump directly or raise his voice to prove anything. The transcript spoke quietly for him. That silence carried more weight than another shouting match ever could. Trump had spent years turning suspicion into entertainment, but now he faced something that could not easily be mocked away. How do you argue with a written record? How do you shout down evidence without looking smaller than the paper itself? That was the moment the atmosphere fully changed. Trump's original attack began sounding less confident and more careless. The laughter that once followed his words now felt uncomfortable, almost forced. One loud insult had opened the door for a calm answer that exposed the difference between performance and proof. For many older Americans watching, the moment carried a deeper meaning. They grew up believing education mattered, that hard work mattered, and that serious institutions still deserved respect. They remembered a time when credentials were earned quietly instead of mocked publicly for entertainment. And in that moment, Obama's restraint no longer looked passive. Trump had tried to make Obama's education appear questionable. Instead, the exchange made the attack itself look weak. It reminded people that mockery can dominate a room for a few minutes, but evidence lasts much longer than applause. One document had changed the meaning of the entire argument. By the end of the segment, the crowd was no longer laughing at Obama. They were looking at Trump's words differently. One calm release had done what shouting never could, and the final lesson became impossible to miss. When noise collides with proof, noise eventually runs out of space.